Hey guys, and welcome to FaithWorks Designs. I'm Faith, and today we are working on a Howler! I am so excited to finally be able to show this to you guys because we have legitimately worked on this for a year. We've been trying to get everything perfect for you guys so that you guys really love it. So we're going to take a look at it real quick. So we have the Weasley family crest on there. And then on the back, we have the Ron Weasley Wizardry School address label on the back. And then when you open it up, you've got Mrs. Weasley's letter to Ron. And then are you ready for it? Because you guys have been asking for it and asking for it and asking for them. Pockets and pockets and pockets. But let's talk about the zipper pull real quick if we can get the camera to take a look at it. These zipper pulls are to die for, and you have to get them. So you have 4 zipper pockets in this wallet. You also have 15 card slots. You can only see 12 of them, but there's a secret pocket on the inside front zipper. I've been trying to sneak in like secret pockets and secret things in all of my purses for the Harry Potter series. I did it with most of them, but not all of them. So there is 3 more credit card slots on the inside of that, and I know you're gonna have a hard time seeing it, but you'll see it when we go to put it together. This bag is not a beginner friendly bag. It's more of like an intermediate kind of wallet, and it's big. Now let me show you something. We also have the Howler purse. So we have the Howler wallet and we have the Howler purse. On the purse we added a chain so that it would be nice to carry around like a little bag. On the wallet, it's large enough you could add a chain. So if you want to add a chain to this and make it into a smaller purse, you certainly could. But we wanted it to be a wallet and a purse. So in today's video we're going to be making the wallet, but if you'd like to see the purse, make sure that you subscribe so that you won't miss out on it. Let's get started. Just like I've done with the last couple of panels, I am ironing the whole entire thing because we're going to be using the entirety of the panel, and it'll just make time go by so much faster instead of cutting out each individual piece. Just an executive decision to do it like that today to save us some time. So what I've done is I've got my whole roll of interfacing going this way. I've got my lining on top of it, and then I'm just kind of matching up the edge of my lining fabric to the edge of my interfacing roll, and then I'm just going to iron it all the way down, take it off, and then iron down another patch down that side. My iron is nice and hot, and you just want to take your time ironing it so that it gets adhered to your lining fabric. Because we're going to be cutting these out, you want to make sure that it's good and adhered to it. Alright, so I cut another strip of my interfacing, and now I've laid it on this side. You will have some hangover, and I actually let them kind of overlap just a little bit because I know that this probably isn't like super duper straight on my edges. If you wanted to, you could kind of make straight edge this side so that when you're ironing everything together, you can make sure that your interfacing is going to stay straight. But I overlapped mine just a little bit, and I'm letting the excess hang on this side. Alright, this panel is pretty big. It's pretty huge to have to work with, especially now that we have the interfacing on. So what I like to do, and you can do this if you want, you can take it piece by piece by piece, it's up to you, but to make this like just a smidgen more manageable, what I like to do is kind of take my rotary cutter and kind of break up all of the pieces so that I don't have this whole entire huge thing to work with. Now your zipper tabs should not be interfaced. I tried to make sure that I didn't catch those when I was interfacing. So these are 2x2 squares. Just go ahead and make them 2x2s. That's pretty simple. Alright, so I'm going to take this card slot and set it to the side. And then just keep going. Let's see. Now what I'm going to do is show you guys all of the measurements and everything that you guys should have along with the pieces so that you know what we're working on. So let's grab these. These are going to be our bottom of our card slots, the very bottom. And they are 4 3/4 wide by 8 tall. So we've got these right here. These are the bottom of our card slots. So you're going to cut those out. I'm also going to be adding a printable version of this with the written instructions, so you just need to print this out and then you'll be able to use it as a template for cutting these out. So if you want to check out the written directions, they will be in there. So there are 5 of our card slot bottoms, and that's what I'll be referring to when we go to put them together. And then we've got all of these. I do give you a template for that as well. It's going to be 2.5 wide by 4 3/4 tall. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just use my ruler and make it go just a little bit faster, because they are pretty much at a spot where you can cut them out just with your ruler. Poor Alex, trying to make all of this fit. So I'm measuring 4 3/4 up. And then I'm going to turn it to myself, and I'm going to measure 2.5 inches up, and then turn it around and measure 2.5 inches and cut like that. And I'm just going to do that for all of them. You could just take your little template and cut them out. I just found that it was easier to do it this way. It's just up to you what you want to do. Alright, so the side of our card slots should be 2.5 wide by 4 3/4 tall, and you should have 10 of these. The next thing that we're going to be working on is the lining pieces and the actual letter itself. You're going to have 8 inches across, 9 inches tall, and then I'm just going to grab my weight. Again, these will all be in the written directions. You will have a little template to cut out. I will try and do my best to put everything on the screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. But you notice that kind of cutting everything apart made it a whole lot easier to cut all of these out instead of having to try and deal with the panel in its entirety. It was just too much. So I like to cut mine down, and that way I don't have quite as much material to have to work with. Lord Weasley. So for the lining pieces and the letter and everything all together, you should have 5 pieces. So let's set those aside. Now we're going to be working on our card slots. And the first thing that I'm going to worry about is just making them 4.5 wide. Our card slots are going to be 4.5 wide by 15 3/4 long. I will try and put those measurements on the screen for you guys because I don't want anybody frustrated with me. So all I'm going to do is make it 4.5 wide, and I'm going to set it aside because I'm going to cut them all to length all together, so I don't have to do it multiple times. And I can just take you over there and measure it. Now we've got to do our 15 3/4. So I'm going to line this up so where you guys can see it, hopefully. Matter of fact, there you go. So I'm going to start at this edge. Alright, so my ruler is at 30, so I need to look for 45 3/4. You should have 5 of these. These are all your card slots. Let's set those aside. The last thing that you're going to have to deal with is your lining for the main body of your card slots. Don't mess with this yet. We're going to wait until we get our main panel cut out of our vinyl, and then we're going to take our vinyl and use that as a template for this. Now you've got your main vinyl template for your outside of your wallet. And what you're going to do is you're just going to cut right where the white and the red come together. Alright, now that you've got your vinyl, I'm going to take our vinyl and use it as a template to cut our lining. And then you kind of just want to square it up as best you can. Alright, now that you've got these two, just go ahead and set them aside. We're not going to be using them or messing with them anytime soon. So just put those aside. But you do need to start working on your little ribbons that you have. These are going to have edge coating just like our purse does. And I wanted to show you guys one of the wallets done without the edge coating. That way you could kind of see if it's something you wanted to do or not. I'd highly encourage you to do the edge coating just because it makes the ribbon look so much nicer. Let me show you. So this is the purse with the edge coating versus the wallet without it. So you can kind of see the white edges of your of the wallet, of the ribbon. They look so much nicer when you go ahead and just kind of edge coat everything. This is also one of the first things that you want to do after you get everything cut out, because the edge coating is going to take you a while, and it takes a while for it to dry. And I like to kind of go ahead, get my paint mixed, get my ribbon done. And again, you just follow the white with the red. I always don't cut far enough up because I'm afraid I'm going to cut it. Okay. Alright. After you get everything cut out and you've got as much white off as you possibly can, you're going to want to put these ribbons wrong side to wrong side. If I could, I'd really like to use some kind of spray adhesive to make sure that they stay together, but I have a little visitor in my room and my allergies are killing me, so we're not going to do that. So then what we're going to do is we're going to put them like that, and then I am going to use a strip of double-sided tape, put it right down the center. And then I'm going to put some like that. Like that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper off. And then I'm going to put right side to right side and just match up as best you can your pieces. Just like that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this, if you have some white sticking out and they're not quite like even, it's okay. The very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this to our sewing machine and we're going to kind of base stitch around a portion of our ribbon so that it'll stay together, and so we can go ahead and do our edge coating. Alright, we have got our ribbon. We need some sort of marking tool. I always use this one because it wipes off of my vinyl really nicely and doesn't leave any kind of residue on it. You're also going to need a ruler. I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to place it on my sewing desk so that the ends of the ribbon are on a certain line, and that way I can kind of see where it is and measure from the edge of that line to where I need to go. What we're going to do is we're going to line up 4 inches. So here's where the top of my ribbons are. 4 inches over, we're going to make 2 marks. I'm going to make one on this side, and I'm going to make one on this side. Just little marks to know where I'm going to start stitching, go all the way around, and where I'm going to stop. And that way we can top stitch. A lot of this doesn't make sense, but it makes sense. When you get finished with it, you'll see why. But this is the way we have to do it, because this part of the flap isn't going to be attached to the actual wallet. It needs to be kind of loose because we're going to be putting the seal here. You'll see. It just needs to be loose for right now. So let's take it to the sewing machine. I am going to use a 4 stitch length with an 1/8 of an inch around the edge. Alright, so I went ahead and put in some burgundy thread that kind of goes really well with my ribbon. Next thing that I'm going to do, I've set my stitch length to a 4. I'm going to sew an 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, and I'm going to start at that mark that I just made. And then just an 1/8 of an inch. Just go all the way around. We're just kind of top stitching these 2 pieces together. And you're going to kind of want to go as close as you can to these points so that they'll stay together. Just be careful as you're sewing. It always wants to go up underneath my foot for some reason. Take your time with this part because this stitching is going to show up like a sore thumb. If you kind of like wander, it's going to really show up. So just take your time. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my threads through the back. You can decide whichever, if one side looks better than the other, and then pull the thread through, and you can either get them with your thread burner, or you can go ahead and just burn the ends of your thread after you cut them. After that, I'm going to take that to my measuring table, and I'm going to go around with an X-Acto knife and just kind of clean this up a little bit. I'm going to do both the top and the bottom, so I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to make sure it's straight on this side, turn it over, make sure it's straight on this side, all the way around, so that when I go to do my edge coating, it'll be a lot easier having the flat surface to be able to edge coat on. Alright, so we have got our top stitching all done. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my X-Acto knife. Once you have your X-Acto knife, I want to make sure that it's sharp, because I want to make sure that these two are even. The edges are nice and even so that when I go to do edge coating, it'll be so much easier than trying to do the edge coating with two edges that don't match up, or that are kind of like, you know, one sticking out further than the other. You don't want that when you're edge coating, because then it'll kind of look weird. You know, for somebody that doesn't like edge coating, I've been having to do a lot of it with a lot of these patterns. So don't feel bad if edge coating is not your thing, because it's not mine either, but I have to do it. If you want to make these patterns, then you're going to have to just do it. Suck it up with me. I'm just going to kind of turn it around. I'm going to do this one side and just make sure I got all that white marks off and stuff. And then I'm going to turn it over, because it may look like it's fine on one side, but you really need both sides to be nice and smooth on the edges. So I'm going to take my time doing this, but you really, really, really want to do it so that your edges are nice and smooth, so that when you go to put your edge coating on, it looks really good, because it really does make a difference. I noticed when I was doing the testers and all, it really shows up. So just go around the edges, go ahead and just make sure, like when you put your hand through it, like I can tell I need to go back on this side. Just make sure that both edges are the same, and then we will go do the edge coating. Alright guys, so I have got my edges as well done as I can. I've got them nice and smooth. The next thing that you're going to need is an edge tool, edge painting tool. I need to actually break down and buy me one, but they should kind of roll. They should roll when you're putting your edge coat on, but mine I got all gunked up, which is another good tip. Make sure that you clean your edge coat tool really, really well every single time that you're done with it, so that it will continue to work properly. I have a cup that I normally use for my edge coating, but you live in a house with a bunch of little people, stuff wanders off. So we're going to use a little throwaway cup today. I am also grabbing my base coat Gardini base coat stuff. So we're going to be experimenting today. I've done this a couple times and it's worked out really nice. Somebody on Facebook or Instagram or something showed that you can put the Gardini base coat along with the colors that you're going to be using, so that you basically just do one coat or two, one or two coats, versus doing two coats of the base coat, two coats of your coloring, and just a lot more work. You can just do it all in one shot. And because I'm cheap, I am going to use the red folk art that I have and the violet pansy, the purple that I have, and I'm going to be making my colors. Now I've done this a couple of times with all of the testers and they all turned out good. I just happened to the correct ratio of red and purple so that I got the color that I needed. Or you can do the smart thing. You're not going to need a lot of this, okay? You can do the smart thing and just go buy the color that you need. Who wants to do that when you can play with colors? I mean, seriously. I don't get to play with colors anymore. So I'm putting in more red than I am purple. If my purple will come out. You need to use some centripetal force on it so it'll work. Alright, so I've got just a little bit of purple in there. And then I've got my base coat. And remember, the more of the base coat you put in there, the better. But the more of the base coat you put in there, the lighter your color is going to be. Woo! I haven't had a full jar in a while. That was exciting. Okay. Alright, so you've got to mix in there. You're just going to mix your Gardini with the colors that you have so that it's nice and coated. The Gardini is what gives you that nice edge that it won't, your vinyl will end up fraying over time, and that's what we want. We don't want this vinyl to fray over time, because that would really stink to do all this work and that one thing come undone at the end. If you're mixing paints, just make sure that it's mixed well before you start, because you don't want to start and get a glob of a different color. That would stink. And I find with this purple and this red, it makes the exact color that I need. So now we're just going to apply this. You're really going to need somewhere to put these ribbons so that they can dry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just where we started doing our top stitching. I'm going to edge coat all the way around and then back to this side, and then I'm going to stop. I'm going to hang this over my desk. I'm going to put a little weight on it and then just kind of let it hang over my desk like that and let it dry. And then I'm going to do the other end. You're going to have to work on this periodically while we're doing the other steps. I'll try and remember to tell you, but you really need to like stop, check on this, do another edge, do another coating or whatever you need to do. Normally it takes me about 2 coats and I'm good to go. And like I said, your tool should go round and round. Mine does not do that anymore because it needs to be cleaned really, really well. And ain't nobody got time for that. So as you're doing this, you want to check the tops and the bottoms and make sure you're not getting too much paint on there. And I always normally have a thing of wet wipes with me. Wet wipes are super helpful to get the stuff off of your hands, because inevitably edge coating, you're going to get something on your hands or somewhere on your project where you don't want it, and a wet wipe will wipe that right off. Okay, we can keep moving on. So I'm going to edge coat this and just kind of fast forward so you guys don't have to watch me do this. Because it normally takes me a little while. I just kind of fussy paint around. So I'm going to fast forward and then I'm going to show you how I go to dry these out. Alright, so that is how I have them drying. I'm doing one for TikTok. If you haven't checked out the videos yet, I've been trying to do them on all of our bags, and they kind of get to be a sneak peek of what we're doing. And then I've got one for the video to show you guys. So they are just going to hang out there and dry while we do the next step.